The MMA fortune teller.
The teller, the teller, the teller, the teller, the teller, the teller.
What's up, you guys? TUF 29, episode 7. We had a very interesting episode that took place here. We had two guys with kind of opposite situations going on. We had the more matured and more experienced fighter in Josh Rettinghouse taking on the young and hungry Brady Hiestand. And it was interesting, too, because both these guys knew each other coming into the show. They've trained together. It was only fitting that these guys were going to square off, right? It just seemed like it was meant to be. And it actually really delivered as far as the fight went. It was a very exciting fight, so we'll be getting to that here in a second. Of course, and this is Josh Rettinghouse here, who took on Brady Hiestand, who you will see right here, right behind Volkanovski, right behind Volkanovski's right shoulder. More of a grappling-oriented fighter is Brady, and Rettinghouse, in my opinion, is just a very well-rounded fighter, a very underrated fighter, guy that's been around the block for some time. He's fought some big names in the game, and this was definitely his moment to try to shine here. Going into this episode, or during the episode, not really much occurred as far as like riffraff in the house and whatnot. This was more of a strictly to business type of episode. It was a 3-round fight, so there wasn't too much time to mess around in the house. So nothing really to talk about too much as far as that goes. Again, though, a little bit of a background on these guys. They're both from Washington State. Brady, a young guy that grew up on a farm and just seems to be from a good family. Has a brother, an older brother. They've been tussling up for years. They both train together. His brother's a fighter as well. Josh, on the other hand, too, just a very cool, down to earth guy. Nothing too intriguing or nothing that stood out too much as far as these guys' backgrounds. They were just these guys are just good dudes that are looking to grind it to the UFC. So, like I said, man, these guys knew each other going in. They were hanging out a little bit going into the hanging out before the fight even occurred the night before, man. They're hanging out in the same room, chilling, talking. They were very comfortable about the whole situation. Now, to the fight, I thought that the first round kicks off. I thought Brady handled the first round. Brady was controlling the grappling, I would say, a little bit, although it was competitive too. But Brady was trying to implement the grappling game, trying to close the distance. A couple of these pictures I'm going to pop up. It's going to show Brady looking like he was Mike Tyson, but that really wasn't the case. But Brady was looking to close the distance. You continuously heard Ortega yelling to Rettinghouse to stay in the center of the octagon. This way he could use his striking where he had the edge. He definitely had the edge as far as the striking goes, as far as I was concerned. Even the strikes that Brady was able to land was, in my opinion, a lot of it was set up through the threat of the takedown, because Josh was continuously having to just, look to stuff takedowns. But Brady looked to have won that first round pretty convincingly. So, going into the second round, Josh was down a round. And then you started to see Josh start to stuff the takedowns. He knew they were coming, and he was the more busy fighter. Even if Brady was in on the hips, Josh was the guy throwing elbows. He was the one landing more shots. And then he started to really tee off with some clean shots too on the feet. Was really, hitting him with some power hooks and was looking good. I definitely thought that he won that second round. You heard Volkanovski saying to Brady, if you get this takedown, we win the fight. I thought that he was way off there, and it was proven to be true, because what happened when it went to the judges' scorecards, they pushed for that third round. Rettinghouse was doing a lot more damage. Now, going into the third round, which, by the way, too, I did see this fight a little bit later, obviously, than it was aired. That's why I'm filming this a little bit later, too. Somebody gave me a little bit of a spoiler saying, didn't you think Rettinghouse won that fight? So I kind of had a narrative in my head even going into this fight. And that person that DM'd me that kind of spoiled it for me, I must say that you were pretty much, you had a valid point. I kind of thought that Rettinghouse may have done enough to win that third round. It was awfully close. Brady was the aggressor as far as coming forward and shooting those takedowns. He threw a couple nice knees in the clinch, a couple power shots, some overhand rights. He was kind of ferocious in there, but he wasn't landing enough. The activity was Rettinghouse, and even at the end of the fight, Brady got on top of his guard, but Rettinghouse went for the triangle, pulled him into a like a 50% triangle attempt type thing just to set up some punches from the bottom. But again, being active. So I think I thought it could have went either way. And it was a split decision, an extremely close fight. Brady Hiestand gets the victory. So, although it says 5-1 here, you got to look at it now like he's a 6-1 fighter, and he's moving his way through the bracket. So only 22 years old, a very young fighter training at a sick jitsu. This is a big step for him in his career. So a kid at this age still has so much more to learn and to prove. But the sky is the limit when you're on the Ultimate Fighter show getting victories at the age of 22. That's for sure. So Josh Rettinghouse, he put on a performance here, so he's going to get another opportunity. I guarantee it. He's definitely going to be fighting in the UFC on the Ultimate Fighter finale or some type of opportunity. I definitely believe so. He's 31 years old. He has a nice resume here. Could have been 17-5, really, if it would have went his way. And I think the UFC is going to respect the performance that he delivered on this show. So, Josh Rettinghouse, cross your fingers for him. I think that he'll still have, he'll have a shot to do his thing in the UFC. He just has to deliver in his next fight. But again, and a very determined and exciting fighter is Rettinghouse. I mean, victories over Sergey Morozov. Remember now, Sergey's fighting this Saturday here. He's a solid fighter, with a solid resume. That's a big win there. You look at guys that he's battled with. We talk about that Alexis Villa fight. He's battled against Marlon Moraes, Josh Hill. So again, this guy, he's no slouch, is Rettinghouse. So I was kind of hoping he would have got the victory, but again, he will have another shot. So, keep an eye on where his career goes. Now, moving on to episode 8, we have the last fight taking place out of the first round. Okay, and I want to pull this up here real quick, but we're gonna be having Gilbert Urbina take on Miles Hunsinger. Real quick though, I didn't pull this up in the last episode, and I like this. I want to take a look into this again. This is the actual bracket. So you take a look at the middleweights. This upcoming episode will be Miles Hunsinger versus Gilbert Urbina. So the winner should be fighting Brian Battle. You see Tresean Gore and Andre Petrosky. Cannot wait for that fight. Now, the bantamweight bracket, as we just rounded up the last fight over in the bantamweight division. Brady Hiestand now will take on Ricky Turcios. That should be a nice fight there. I'm interested to see how Turcios' grappling will handle Brady's grappling and pressure. And then you got Vince Murdoch taking on Ludovic Shalinian. So some interesting fights there. Now we move over to the Urbina fight. This guy Gilbert Urbina, 6-1. This is a guy, he's been walking around with his mullet nice and fluffed up all throughout the show. He's the last guy that's fighting in the first round. Like I said, one of the last two guys fighting. This is a guy that he seems to be very confident. You see he's had experience inside the cage with a solid fighter in Sean Brady and went to the distance. I think that says a little something, because Brady is a guy that will go out there and finish you if you're not up to par. Definitely with his submission game too. So he's a tough guy. So he's never been finished. Not a lot of experience. Just a decent amount of experience for the show, but in general, not a lot of experience. Coming off that victory against Angelo Trevino, I think that this is a guy that's decently well-rounded. He can strike, he can grapple. I would say he's a decently well-rounded fighter here going into this fight. Only 25 years old, 6'3", 74-inch reach, taking on Miles Hunsinger, who is 6 foot with a 75-inch reach, 30 years old, and he's undefeated, 7-0, training out of Extreme Couture. This is a true Vegas product. He's out there, and this is a guy that I was very, very excited to see perform on the show. But if you guys saw the teaser for the next episode, I hope that he's going to fight, because it looks like he's battling an injury, and they kind of flirted that he might not fight in there. So I really hope this fight goes through, because I really, really want to see this matchup. This matchup is one of the more exciting matchups, in my opinion, on the show, especially in the first round. So I want to see this fight coming off a nice victory over Nate Kersley, rear naked choke in the second round. Another well-rounded fighter who's never tasted defeat as an amateur or professional. I really hope we get to see this fight. I'm edging Miles Hunsinger if he comes in ready to go. Hopefully, you know, hopefully this injury, even if he does fight, doesn't impair his fighting skills. We saw what went on recently with Conor McGregor. Just talk about that real quick, man. There's a lot of evidence that came out that, you know, he had some damage done to that ankle, but props to Poirier still checking kicks and whatnot. And, you know, it's McGregor's fault for not getting that fixed up before going in there, and or for throwing those kind of strikes. If it was damage, he should have, you know, maybe tried to be a little bit easy on the kick. But, you know, you got to just watch some of these fighters when they go into battle when they're hurt already. So that is a big part of the game that not a lot of people see, but it's part of the game. It's part of the business. I do hope that Miles goes in there and puts on a show. And yeah, that will wrap up today's episode, and that this upcoming episode will wrap up the first round. So very excited to move to the second round bracket for this show. So all right, guys, hope you guys are all enjoying the show. I will catch you back here next week. And once again, I apologize for getting this out a little bit later in the week. I'll try to get this out to you guys Wednesday or Thursday. Again, I'm filming this on a Friday morning. I apologize, guys. You know, life is busy at times, you know. Hope you guys understand that, but I do my best to try to get everything out to you guys. All right, we got a nice fight card coming up Saturday. You can check out my prediction video on the channel here. Please like this video, subscribe if you haven't. All right, guys, signing out.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller. The teller.